Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishna Pesachim, Perek Yud, chapter 10, Mishnah Vav, Mishnah 6. Okay, so at this point, we're holding by Hallel. When we start saying Hallel in the Seder. So Mishnah Vav begins at Heichen Hu Omer, until how far into how much of Hallel do we say at this point? It's understood that now that we just finished, we finished telling the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim with Exodus from Egypt. We've come to the point that we feel as if we ourselves have left Egypt, and therefore the next thing to do is express our gratitude through Hallel. So really, we should be doing the whole Hallel now. But the sages were concerned that if we did the whole Hallel now, the children would fall asleep before eating matzah. And we want the children to be there want them to be there by eating matzah. We don't just want them to be there for the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim, for the Magid section of the Seder. We want them there for the eating of the matzah. And therefore, Chazal said that at this point, before the second cup, we're going to say part of Hallel. So up to where in Hallel does one say? Beis Shammai say, Ad Eim Habedim Smecha, until the words Eim Habedim Smecha, which is the end of the first paragraph of Hallel. That's according to Beis Shammai. You say the first paragraph of Hallel, and that's it. Beis Hillel say Ad Chalamish Lamai Noimoyim, until the words Chalamish Lamai Noimoyim, which is the conclusion of the second paragraph of Hallel. So according to Beis Shammai, all you did was the first paragraph of Hallel, and according to Hillel, you do the first two paragraphs. What's their argument? What's the reasoning behind each one? So the explanation is that according to Beis Shammai, the focus is like what the second paragraph. Do we save that for later, or do we do it now? So according to Beis Shammai, the way to bring that explanation is the following: since the second paragraph of Hallel mentions the Exodus, right? The second chapter of Hallel begins B'tzeis Yisrael Mitzrayim. Okay, Beis Shammai say that it should be postponed until later in the evening, as close to midnight as possible, because that is when the Egyptian firstborn were killed and Pharaoh pleaded with the Jews to leave. So he wants the paragraph that talks about the exodus from Egypt to be as close as to the time of the actual Exodus, to the time when the actual Exodus took place, or which is by midnight when the firstborn were killed and Pharaoh told the Jewish people to leave. Therefore, he says you don't do the second paragraph now, you do it later. Beis Hillel say no. Beis Hillel say the part of Hallel recited before the meal is followed by the blessing of Asher Ga'alanu, who redeemed us, which we're about to go ahead and say, which is the next part of the Mishnah is supposed to discuss. The part of Hallel recited before the meal is followed by the blessing of Asher Ga'alanu, who has redeemed us, which we thank God for the redemption. Beis Hillel reasoned that since the second paragraph of Hallel describes the complete redemption, including the splitting of the sea, we should recite it before this blessing. Meaning we want, according to Beis Hillel, we want the paragraph B'tzeis Yisrael, which talks about not just Yetzias Mitzrayim, not just actual leaving, but also splitting of the Red Sea, which was the completion of the redemption. That should be next to the bracha of redemption, which is the end of this part of the Seder. Now, so after saying, the Mishnah continues, after saying whatever part, the beginning of Hallel, v'chaisim v'geula. After that, you then conclude with a bracha of geula, with a bracha of redemption. Now, what is this bracha of redemption? How does it read? So Rabbi Tarfon says, it reads like this: Asher ga'alanu v'ga'alas avaisenu mimitzrayim v'lehoya chayseim. According to Rabbi Tarfon, you start off saying like this: Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, like the beginning of every bracha. Asher ga'alanu, who has redeemed us, v'ga'alas avaisenu mimitzrayim, and has redeemed us and redeemed our forefathers from Egypt. Now, based on the reading of the Mishnah, that's the end. There's no more. That's the whole bracha. It starts with the opening of Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, like any other bracha. And what's the whole bracha? Asher ga'alanu v'ga'al es avaisenu mitzrayim, who has redeemed us, redeemed our ancestors from Egypt. Now, if you look in our Haggadah, there's more words that's added on, and those words are v'giyanu halayla hazeh la'chabay matzah umarer, and enabled us to reach this night that we may eat on it matzah in Maror. According to Rabbi Tarfon, this bracha that we conclude with only contains our expression of gratitude to Hashem for taking us out of Mitzrayim. That's all. It's an expression of gratitude. And that gratitude is for taking us out and for bringing us to this night of being able to do these mitzvahs. That's the whole bracha according to Rabbi Tarfon. And therefore, Rabbi Tarfon says, a bracha that's only about gratitude starts with Baruch Atah Hashem and doesn't end with Baruch Atah Hashem. That's what it means. He didn't end off with the words of a bracha. You start off with the words of blessing, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. You express your gratitude, Asher Galanu, and that's it. And that's what we do by the brachas we make before we eat. When we make a bracha, we say, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Shakol Niyeh B'dvarei. That's it. There's no other bracha after that. When we make a bracha over a mitzvah, we say, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Asher Kedeshanu b'mitzvayis v'tzivanu lo niach tefillin. That's it. You start off with Baruch Atah Hashem in the beginning, and you don't have those words at the end. An expression of gratitude alone starts with Baruch Atah Hashem. It doesn't end with that. Rabbi Akiva says the bracha continues. It doesn't stop there. It continues with the words, Kain Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokei Avosenu, so Hashem our God and the God of our forefathers, Yagi'enu l'moyadim l'regalim, shall bring us to the Yagi'enu l'moyadim, l'moyadim, to festivals, l'regalim habayim, l'regalim achirim habayim l'chosenu l'shalom. So Hashem our God, the God of our forefathers, bring us to other approaching holidays and pilgrimage festivals. Meaning we have these two words here, moadim and regalim. Moed is the word that we use for a holiday, for a yontif. Regalim is the word that we use specifically for the holidays of Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, when the Jewish people had to go to the Beis HaMikdash. And we're saying that just as we have been brought to this holiday of Pesach, Hashem should bring us to other coming holidays and regalim. Holidays refers to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, and regalim refers to Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot. Smeich mevin yirecha, rejoicing with the building of your city, v'sasem b'vaydasecha, and being joyful in your service. And we shall eat there from the zvachim, from the sacrifices, from the Pesach offerings. And actually, in our Mishnah, it says chulu, etc. It doesn't say the rest of the words. The rest of the words that are said are, they don't have it here in English, in Hebrew, but they have it in English. Whose blood will be sprinkled upon the sides of your altar for gracious acceptance, and we will thank you with a new song for our redemption and for the freeing of our souls. And then that's what it means, ad, until Baruch Atah Hashem, bless you Hashem, Goal Yisrael, who has redeemed Israel. According to Rabbi Akiva, all these additional words are not expressions of gratitude, they're prayers, they're praise. It's the same thing when we make Kiddush. Right? We make Kiddush, we actually have a long bracha, because in the bracha we have not only, expressing our thanks for the mitzvah, for being given Shabbos, but also we express praise for Hashem. And when, besides having gratitude, you express either praise or make requests, like we're doing here in this bracha, then not only do you start with Baruch Atah Hashem, you end with Baruch Atah Hashem. So according to Rabbi Akiva, being that the bracha, according to him, this concluding bracha of this section of the Seder, has in it not just a expression of gratitude for the redemption, but it also has prayers for future holidays and being able to have them with the Beis HaMikdash. Therefore, now that becomes what we call a long bracha, and therefore not only does it start with Baruch Atah Hashem, it also ends up with Baruch Atah Hashem, which is what we follow. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.